Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. WildMax1 here, bringing another Raid Shadow Legends video. So a few weeks ago, I put out a video with Titus and Brogni on an Infinity Shield composition that was able to do just over 1.6 billion damage on Nightmare Hydra. Now after making a few alterations to the team's AI presets and builds, in today's showcase, I'll be showing you that team, exact same champions, dealing almost a billion damage more, also full auto in Nightmare Hydra. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you some key moments from the run. I'll be showing you the changes I made to the AI and the builds, and finally showing you a quick battle run. So with that, let's get into it. So because this video is effectively a part 2 to the original showcase that I put out, I'm not going to be going over all the same concepts that I did in that video in this one. So in that one, I go over, for example, how to build an Infinity Shield composition, why I chose these specific champions on this team, and I also talk about replacement champs that you can use. So if you are curious to see that, I'll link the video down in my description, and I encourage you to go check that out. So with that, let's get right into the run that I recorded earlier. We're going to be playing it on 1.5 times speed, and I'll just be covering a few things that I wanted to mention, a few key talking points for you to consider, especially and when it comes to the difference between this team and the previous showcase. So still the same exact champions, as I already mentioned. The big differences for this team, other than the AI presets, the biggest one by far, I'm not going to bury the lead, is that I added another shield source. So if you don't know, for Infinity Shield teams, you can have 3 separate shields that can be grown and that can be used by Titus. One of them comes from skills, one of them comes from relics, so think your magma shield from your Volcardiac Heart, and the third comes from shield sets. So I do not have a Volcardiac Heart, but I was able to put a shield set on my Androc, and so we are going to see much bigger hits coming in from Titus, which is going to contribute, obviously, to that huge damage difference that we saw in that final result, going from 1.6 billion to 2.5 billion. So whereas in my previous run, my biggest hit was around 57 million, in this one we're going to see already 2 minutes into the run, and we should be seeing the big hit coming in from Androc already, 49, almost 50 million right there, just 2 minutes into the run. Again, thanks to having those 2 shields as opposed to just the one from skills. And here we should be seeing a reset coming in from Pheidi. There it is. And just over a minute after the first big hit, we have another one, 65 million already. So we've already surpassed anything that we were doing in the previous showcase, just 3 minutes and 45 seconds into this run. Now, generally speaking, Wixwell-based Infinity Shield compositions are going to have a higher damage ceiling than the Brogni-based ones, but there is one place where Brogni-based Infinity Shield compositions have the advantage, and that is because in order for Brogni to grow a shield, he has to be able to do damage. So one thing you need in Hydra, if you want consistency out of your teams, is to have a good secondary damage dealer. So right here, we're going to see Brogni going in with an A2 from Mad Hatter, dealing 1.4 million damage on a decapitated head. That is exactly why you get more consistency from Brogni teams, because a lot of Wixwell compositions out there are not bringing a good secondary damage dealer and are just kind of hoping that Titus doesn't get devoured second after your highest crit damage champion. Well, in this case, if that does happen, while Titus is going to lose his shield set and potentially his relic set shields, Brogni can still regrow the skill-based shield, and so you can finish out your run and still do some decent damage. So in this case, we see Titus is the next up to get devoured. So for this specific run, we are going to be missing our shield set for the majority of it. So the majority of that damage is going to be going away. But if you're just looking for consistency, Brogni-based teams are really good for that reason, again, because he is that secondary damage dealer. And here you see Titus is about to be devoured by the head of Blight over there that is sitting under a poison cloud. So pretty much one of the worst situations that you could be in, given that you can barely do any damage to the head when it's under poison cloud. So let's skip to when he's going to get broken out and then watch him as he slowly ramps up his damage again when Brogni starts to grow that shield. So here we go, about to break Titus out of the Devour. Brogni coming in to save the day. And we are going to have him recast the A3 here in a few moments. Once again, protected shield landing on Titus. Titus right now at risk of going down to the Hydra. We do not have a reviver in this composition, but there we have it. Resilient Glows out. We have the protected shield. So at this point, all we're going to do is wait for Titus to get his damage back, because right now, as we'll see in just a couple seconds here, his A2 hits like a wet noodle. He has got nothing right now, no power until Brogni's able to cast several. There we go, 436,000 damage with his A2 on the Head of Decay. Virtually nothing. But we're going to have the first Cavern's Grasp right here, and you can already see the size of his shield is multiplied significantly. And then as we continue to grow, you will see his damage continue to grow. So initially there we had 436,000 damage on the Head of Decay, 4.6 million just after that one Cavern's Grasp from Brogni to bring him right back into the game. And it should continue here pretty quickly. And then once he gets ramped back up, we're going to be getting hits of close to where we saw from the first showcase. So close to that 50 million, 55 million mark. That's going to be pretty much the best we can hope for the rest of the run. There you saw an 8.8 million. So it's slowly starting to stack up again. All right, so here we go. Titus right here. Let's watch him go in on the decapitated head right now. 92.4 million damage. Biggest hit that I saw during this full auto run. Again, that's with both shields up. If you manage to get a third shield on your Titus and grow them all to their maximum of 3 million total shields for Titus, I can only imagine how big the hits are at that point. And again, I don't have a weaken up at the time of that hit. I did not have a decreased defense. So if you do manage to sneak those onto your team, even more damage. And that's one place where Wixwell teams do have an advantage because Wixwell is both the shield grower and a buff extender. So if you are going to risk it and just be running these without a secondary damage dealer and just have, Wixwell or whoever have high crit damage just so Titus doesn't get targeted, we're 7 minutes, almost 8 minutes into this run, and we're at 500 million damage already. So easy to see why there's so much variance in some of those Wixwell teams. So again, I would just, in conclusion, comparing Brogni to Wixwell teams, I would say Brogni teams more consistent because they're able to recover from a bad devour, but Wixwell teams much higher ceiling on the damage. So let's just skip straight to the end here and take a look at the damage that I was able to get. 2.5 billion damage, all thanks to Titus not being targeted by that second devour right away and having the benefit of those two shields and doing tons of damage. So obviously there's going to be some RNG involved. You're going to hope that he's got the benefit of those 2 or maybe 3 shields if you can pull that off on your composition and your Titus. But with that, let's take a look at a quick battle run using this team. This has now become my Nightmare Hydra team. This is what I use to go for maximum clash points. Anything that I can use on auto and still get really great results and consistent results is what I'm going to go with every time just to save time. There you have it. 2.54 billion damage from this team. Excellent. And now we're going to go over the AI presets and the changes that I made to have enabled these results from the 1.6 billion in the previous iteration of this team. So for my AI presets, I'm going to call out the major differences between the setup this time and the one in the previous showcase. So for Androc, the only difference is that I turned off Metamorph just for the sake of consistency. I didn't see him use it during any of the full auto components of the runs, but I'd rather just have it not be an option for him. Pheidi, same exact preset. Titus, I ended up turning off Androc's Confidant. That way, any merciless procs that I get goes straight into the A2, even though it is nice to get the turn meter fill and the increased speed, considering I don't have it. It's more important to get more A2s for more damage. Lady Mikage, exact same setup as before. Brogni, exact same setup as before. And Mad Hatter, the only thing I did was prioritize the A2. So he's in a triple impulse set. So we have enough buff extension going on in this team anyway between Pheidi, Lady Mikage, and Androc. So I just decided to have him prioritize putting the Hex out and also going in with Brogni and doing more damage with his boosted A2. Now, before I get into the builds for the various champs that I used in today's video, again, if you're looking for replacement option recommendations, check out my previous showcase where I go over all that, and the link is down in the description below. So with that, let's get into Androc's gear. So the one and biggest change that I made to this team is the simple addition of the shield set. Androc was in 9-piece protection. Now he is featuring the shield set for the team, and that is by far the biggest change that has enabled that jump from 1.6 billion to 2.5 billion damage, giving Titus, instead of a 1 million shield, a 2 million shield for as long as he doesn't get devoured. So here's going to be Androc's stats in Hydra battles. I'm using a Journal of Necrotos on him. He is a intimidating presence user. And here are his masteries. And I do have an Androc guide in the pipeline right now, going to be on my channel soon, so keep an eye out for that if you'd like to see it. Next up is Titus Blackplume. Now, the only big difference between Titus in this showcase and the previous one is the addition of a blessing. So let's first go over his stats here in Hydra. And then I'll show you his relic, which is a Cat's Gaze. And the blessing that I chose on him is a Heaven Cast. Obviously, he's going to be using a lot of buffs, and they're not going away because of the buff extenders, so you get nice benefit from the Heaven Cast. However, after speaking with some of my clanmates, some of which are very knowledgeable when it comes to damage calculation, particular call out, thank you to Patch for this one. The consideration here is because of the way Titus's damage on his A2 is calculated, you want much higher defense relative to his overall HP. The higher his defense is, the better the damage output on his A2 is going to be. So if you're only putting on a 1 or a 2-star blessing on him, it's not high enough to justify putting it on because of that damage drop that's going to happen in his A2. Once you get to a 3, definitely a 4-star blessing. At that point, you get the extra defense from the 3-star and the extra crit damage, and your blessing itself is going to be giving you extra benefit. So at that point, it can offset that increase in HP. But that is something to consider if you're really trying to min-max your Titus. And then finally, here are my masteries, and I do have a Titus guide out on my channel if you'd like to see that. Next up is Underpriest Brogni, and the changes that I made to him are going to be a little bit surprising. They definitely shocked me, and I still am not exactly sure why it worked. But the only thing that I did was I finally was able to get a banner for my Rotos that was good, so I was able to build 9-piece Merciless on him. Now, I love using Rotos. 9-piece Merciless is the greatest set to put on that champ. So I shifted some gear around to get the stats right on my Rotos, ended up taking some of Brogni's gear, and ended up dropping his attack by about 300 and dropping his speed by about 30. Tried out some runs for Demon Lord Clan Boss where I used Titus and Brogni, as well as some quick battles in Hydra, and my overall damage went up. I'm still trying to figure out why that worked. At that time, that was the only change that I made to the team. I was actually testing to see how much my damage would go down, but it ended up going up. I'm not quite sure why. If any of you have any idea why that worked, I think it might have something to do with dropping the speed, but let me know down in the comments below. With that, let's check out the rest of the build. So we have the following stats in Hydra. Cat's Gaze Relic, Heaven Cast Blessing, and here are Brogni's masteries. And I do have a Brogni guide out on my channel if you need to check that out. Next up on the team, Lady Mikage. No change from the previous showcase, so I'm just going to quickly run through all of her stats. For Hydra, using a Molten Death Bell, Cruelty Blessing with these stats. And I do have a guide out for Mikage on my channel, so check that out. Mad Hatter, another champ that had absolutely no change between this showcase and the previous one. So quickly running through his stats in Hydra. Using a Molten Death Bell Relic, Brimstone Blessing, and here are his masteries. And I do have a guide out on my channel. Check it out if you'd like. And finally, Pheidi Tealcrest. Also, no change for this showcase compared to the previous one. Here are Pheidi's stats in Hydra. Using a Journal of Necrotos Relic, Brimstone Blessing. Here are Pheidi's masteries. And as of the filming of this video, I have recently released my Pheidi guide on my channel, so I encourage you to go check that out. And there you have it, everybody. The new and improved 2.5 billion damage full auto Nightmare Hydra team featuring Brogni and Titus Blackplume. If you like today's video, please consider liking, subscribing for more content like this in the future. Let me know down in the comments below if there's any other showcases or guides that you'd like to see on the channel. Thank you for watching today's video. Thank you for your time. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.